Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by the noise of life? Constantly surrounded by people, distractions, and endless demands, yet still feeling disconnected? Do you sometimes wonder what it would be like to just be alone with your thoughts, free from all the outside pressure? How would it feel to embrace the silence instead of fearing it? Let's think for a moment. When was the last time you truly spent time with yourself? Not just scrolling through your phone or watching a show, but really being present with your thoughts and emotions. The truth is, in today's fast-paced world, we've been conditioned to avoid solitude, to fill every moment with activity. But what if I told you that being alone is not only powerful, but it's also essential for personal growth and mental clarity? Imagine this: a simple walk in the park. You're by yourself, no distractions, just the rustling of the leaves and the rhythm of your breath. In that moment, you feel a sense of peace, a connection to something deeper. That's the power of being alone. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. If you're new here, I want to thank you for joining us today. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of people actually subscribe. So please, if you find value in what we share, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us continue bringing insightful content to you. Now, let's dive into the importance of solitude and how it ties into ancient Buddhist teachings. Buddhism teaches us that the path to enlightenment is a deeply personal one. It requires introspection, self-awareness, and the ability to be comfortable in our own company. This doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world forever. It's about understanding that true wisdom and peace come from within. In solitude, we can hear our inner voice, the one that often gets drowned out in the chaos of everyday life. The Buddha himself spent years in meditation, seeking enlightenment away from distractions. Solitude allowed him to understand the nature of suffering, impermanence, and the path to liberation. By being alone, we too can tap into this deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Solitude gives us the space to reflect on our thoughts and emotions without external influences. It's in these quiet moments that we can gain clarity on our desires, our fears, and the direction we want to take in life. Understanding solitude through Buddhism. My dear friend, let me ask you, how often do you sit in complete silence? Not the silence where you're distracted by your phone, music, or a passing thought, but true silence, where your mind is still, your breath is calm, and you are fully present. It is in that stillness, that quiet, where true understanding begins. In Buddhism, solitude is not just about being alone physically. It is about learning to quiet the mind, to remove distractions, and to focus inward. Many people think being alone is uncomfortable or even frightening, but solitude, when understood deeply, is one of the most powerful ways to connect with your inner self. You see, we are always surrounded by noise, by opinions, and by expectations. The world demands so much from us, but true peace, true clarity, can only come when we step away from all that and learn to be comfortable with just ourselves. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is impermanent. Nothing stays the same forever. Our relationships, our possessions, even our thoughts, they all change. Yet, we hold on to them so tightly, fearing the idea of letting go, of being alone. But in reality, it is in that very letting go that we find our greatest strength. Let me share with you a simple truth. Solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is a feeling of lack, a fear that something or someone is missing. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice. It is a conscious decision to spend time with oneself, to cultivate a relationship with the inner self. It's in this space that we find freedom from the external chaos. We are not running away from the world, but rather stepping into a deeper understanding of it. Take the Buddha, for example. Before he became the enlightened one, he spent years in solitude, meditating, contemplating the nature of suffering. He walked away from the distractions of his princely life to seek answers in the quiet. It was in his moments of solitude that he gained the wisdom that would eventually transform his life and the lives of countless others. In the same way, when we allow ourselves to be alone, to be fully present in our solitude, we open the door to insight. Solitude isn't a punishment or a burden. It's an opportunity. Think of it as a chance to sit down with yourself, to listen to your heart, your mind, and your body in a way that you cannot do when surrounded by others. You might be thinking, but I don't have time to be alone, or I feel restless when I'm by myself. These are common feelings. Many of us have been trained to fill every moment with something, whether it's work, entertainment, or even social media. But let me remind you, solitude doesn't require hours upon hours. Even a few minutes of mindful solitude each day can transform your life. It's not the quantity of time, but the quality of attention you give to yourself during that time. In Buddhism, there's a concept known as noble silence. It's the practice of being silent not just with your voice, but with your mind. This practice is particularly powerful in solitude. Noble silence allows you to observe your thoughts without reacting to them. When we sit in solitude and practice noble silence, we become witnesses to our inner world. Thoughts will arise, some pleasant, others troubling, but instead of getting caught up in them, we simply let them pass like clouds in the sky. The more you practice this, the more you'll notice how much noise there really is inside your mind. But here's the good news. By sitting in that silence, by being alone with your thoughts, you begin to see patterns. You start to understand the nature of your mind. And once you understand something, it loses its power over you. Solitude, then, becomes a mirror. It reflects back to you who you are when no one else is watching. It shows you your fears, your desires, your true self. And as Buddhists believe, it is only by understanding oneself that one can truly be free. Now, let's look at the practical side. What can you do to embrace solitude in your daily life? It doesn't mean you need to escape to the mountains or live in a monastery. Solitude can be found anywhere, even in a busy city. Here are a few practices that you can incorporate. Daily meditation. Even just 10 minutes of meditation a day can help you cultivate solitude. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Let your thoughts come and go, but don't get attached to them. Just breathe and be present. Mindful walking. The next time you're outside, try walking in silence. Leave your phone behind and just focus on the act of walking. Pay attention to the feeling of your feet on the ground, the sounds around you, and the rhythm of your breath. This is a simple way to practice solitude in motion. Mindful breathing. Throughout your day, take a moment to pause and breathe. Inhale deeply, hold the breath for a few seconds, and then exhale slowly. Repeat this a few times. This small act of mindfulness can help you reconnect with yourself, even in the middle of a busy day. Disconnecting from technology. We live in a world where we are constantly connected to our devices. But sometimes, the best way to reconnect with ourselves is to disconnect from everything else. Try setting aside time each day where you turn off your phone, step away from your computer, and just be with yourself. Journaling. Writing down your thoughts is another way to practice solitude. It's like having a conversation with yourself. You can reflect on your day, explore your emotions, or simply jot down whatever comes to mind. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns in your thinking, and this awareness can lead to deeper self-understanding. By embracing these practices, you'll start to see solitude not as something to avoid, but as a source of strength and clarity. It's in these moments alone that we can truly understand the teachings of the Buddha. We learn that our suffering doesn't come from the outside world, but from within. And just as we create our own suffering, we also have the power to end it by changing our relationship with ourselves. Solitude teaches us that we don't need to rely on others for validation, comfort, or happiness. All of those things are already within us. When we are alone, we realize that we are enough. This realization is incredibly freeing. So, my dear friend, the next time you find yourself alone, don't rush to fill the silence. Instead, sit with it, embrace it, let it teach you about yourself. Remember, solitude is not something to fear. It's a gift, a chance to reconnect with the most important person in your life, you. The teachings of Buddhism remind us that solitude is not the absence of something, but the presence of everything that truly matters. So, go ahead, take a deep breath, and enjoy the peace that comes from simply being alone. Self-discovery in silence. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly listened to yourself? I'm not talking about those fleeting thoughts that come and go while you're running errands, or the passing reflections when you're about to sleep. No, I'm asking, when was the last time you sat in stillness, in silence, and really heard your own voice, your true inner voice? Most of us spend our lives surrounded by noise. There's always something demanding our attention. Whether it's people, responsibilities, or the constant buzz of technology, we become so used to the noise that we forget there's another way of being. In this part, I want to talk to you about the immense power of silence. Not the silence where we awkwardly wait for something to happen, but the deep, meditative silence that leads to self-discovery. You see, silence is not just the absence of sound. It's the presence of something much greater. It's the doorway to the depths of who we really are. In Buddhism, we are taught that self-discovery begins with stillness. Without distractions, without the endless chatter of the outside world, we start to uncover layers of ourselves that we didn't even know existed. And it's in that silence, that stillness, where we start to understand the essence of who we are. Take a moment and think about this. When was the last time you were alone with no agenda, no phone in hand, no tasks to complete, no conversations to prepare for? Just you, alone with your thoughts. For many of us, that idea might seem uncomfortable. We've been conditioned to fill every moment with activity, to always be doing something. But what if I told you that self-discovery, true self-discovery, requires us to stop doing and start simply being? In the quiet, we begin to notice things we often overlook. We might start by hearing the sound of our own breathing, something so simple but so profound. We start to feel the beat of our hearts, the sensations in our bodies, the emotions that have been pushed down and ignored for far too long. And it's in this space, in this quiet, that we finally have the opportunity to ask ourselves the important questions. Who am I? What do I really want from this life? What is my true purpose? Buddhism teaches us that self-discovery is not something that can be rushed. It is not something that happens overnight or through a sudden epiphany. It is a gradual process, like peeling back the layers of an onion, one by one, until you reach the core. And that core, my friends, is your true self. But to reach it, you must first be willing to sit in silence, to be alone with your thoughts, and to listen deeply. One of the most powerful tools for self-discovery in silence is meditation. In meditation, we learn to quiet the mind, to let go of the endless stream of thoughts that usually occupy our attention. At first, it might feel impossible. The mind races, distractions come up, and it seems like anything but silence. But with time, as we practice, something incredible happens. The noise begins to fade, and in its place, we find clarity. We begin to see ourselves, not as we think we are or as others perceive us, but as we truly are. Let me share something that happens often in life. Many of us think we know who we are. We define ourselves by our job, our relationships, our hobbies, or even by what others think of us. But these are all just roles we play. They are not who we are at the deepest level. When we are constantly surrounded by noise and activity, we don't have the chance to see beyond these roles. But in silence, the layers begin to fall away, and what remains is our essence, our true nature. Self-discovery is not always easy. When we sit in silence, we might come face to face with aspects of ourselves that we've been avoiding. Old wounds, unresolved emotions, fears, insecurities, they all rise to the surface. This is why many people fear silence, why they fill their lives with noise and activity. But here's the thing. It's only by confronting these parts of ourselves that we can truly heal and grow. When we are brave enough to sit in silence and face whatever arises, we give ourselves the gift of self-awareness. And with self-awareness comes transformation. Now, you might be wondering, how do I begin? How do I practice silence and start this journey of self-discovery? The beauty of this is that you don't need anything fancy. You don't need a special place or a specific time. All you need is the willingness to be alone with yourself for a few moments each day. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, close your eyes, and simply breathe. Don't try to control your thoughts or push anything away. Just observe. Allow whatever comes up to come up, and be with it. Over time, you will find that the more you practice, the deeper your self-discovery will become. Silence teaches us patience. In a world that constantly urges us to rush, to produce, and to achieve, silence reminds us that the most important things in life cannot be rushed. It teaches us to slow down, to observe, and to be present. And in that presence, we discover the truth about ourselves. Buddhism places great importance on knowing oneself. Not the self that is attached to material things, titles, or the opinions of others, but the self that is beyond all of that. The true self that is peaceful, compassionate, and wise. But to meet that self, you must first be willing to sit in silence, to embrace solitude, and to listen deeply. Remember, silence is not something to be feared. It is a gift. It is the space where transformation begins. So, take the time to be alone with yourself. Embrace the quiet, and in that quiet, you will discover who you truly are. This journey of self-discovery is not a destination, but an ongoing process. Each time you sit in silence, each time you turn inward, you peel back another layer, revealing more of your true self. And with each revelation, you grow, you heal, and you move closer to living a life of authenticity, peace, and fulfillment. So, are you ready to start? The art of mindfulness in solitude. Imagine sitting quietly in a peaceful space, with no distractions, just you and your breath. The world around you is still, and for the first time in a long while, you feel a sense of calm. This is mindfulness in solitude. The art of being fully present in the moment, aware of everything within and around you, without judgment. As a Zen master, I often speak of mindfulness because it is one of the most powerful tools we have in life. And when we are alone, the practice of mindfulness becomes even more profound. You see, it's in solitude that we are able to observe ourselves without the noise of the outside world. There are no interruptions, no opinions of others, just a space for you to breathe, feel, and truly be. Mindfulness is simple, but not always easy. It's about being aware of the present moment without letting our mind wander to the past or the future. When we are alone, we often get caught up in thoughts of what happened yesterday or worry about what might happen tomorrow. But in practicing mindfulness, we learn to bring our attention back to the here and now, to fully experience the present. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you are eating an apple. In a busy, distracted state, you might eat it quickly, barely noticing its taste or texture. But if you take that apple in solitude and practice mindfulness, everything changes. You slow down. You feel the weight of the apple in your hand. Notice its color, the way the light reflects off its skin. When you take a bite, you truly taste it, feel its crunch, notice the sweetness, the juiciness. This is mindfulness in action, being fully present in the moment. Solitude provides the perfect environment to deepen this practice. There is no rush, no one to impress, nothing to distract you, just you in the moment. In this space, you can fully experience your surroundings and yourself. Buddhism teaches us that mindfulness is key to understanding the nature of reality. Through mindfulness, we become aware of the impermanence of all things, how thoughts, emotions, and even life itself are constantly changing. When we sit in solitude, we can observe these changes within ourselves. Maybe you noticed that a thought that seemed important a moment ago now feels less significant. Or maybe an emotion, like anger or sadness, arises, but as you breathe and stay mindful, it begins to fade away. In solitude, you learn that everything passes. No emotion, no thought, no experience is permanent. This realization can bring great peace. It frees us from being attached to fleeting moments and teaches us to let go. When we are constantly surrounded by people and distractions, it's easy to get caught up in the noise and forget this simple truth. But in solitude, it becomes clear. Mindfulness in solitude also allows us to truly understand our own minds. When we are alone, we have the opportunity to observe our thoughts and patterns without judgment. We may begin to notice how often our minds wander, how quickly we jump from one thought to another, or how frequently we react to certain emotions. This awareness is the first step toward gaining control over our minds. Let's say you sit quietly and notice that every time you're alone, you feel anxious. Instead of trying to distract yourself from that anxiety, mindfulness encourages you to sit with it. Observe it. Where do you feel it in your body? How does it make your mind race? As you stay present with the feeling, without trying to push it away or change it, you might find that the anxiety begins to lessen on its own. It's like shining a light on a shadow. Once it's seen, it starts to disappear. One of the most beautiful things about mindfulness is that it teaches us to accept things as they are. In solitude, we learn to be comfortable with ourselves, with our thoughts, our emotions, and our experiences. We stop trying to change or control everything and instead allow ourselves to simply be. This acceptance is incredibly powerful. It brings a sense of peace and freedom that is hard to find when we are constantly surrounded by the noise and demands of the world. Another aspect of mindfulness and solitude is the awareness of the body. In daily life, we often forget to connect with our bodies. We are so focused on what's happening outside of us that we neglect what's happening within. But in solitude, we have the space to pay attention to our body, to feel the ground beneath us, to notice the rhythm of our breath, the beat of our heart. You can try this right now. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Feel the air as it enters your body. Notice how your chest rises and falls. Bring your attention to the sensations in your body. Your hands resting on your lap, your feet touching the floor, the warmth or coolness of the air around you. This simple practice of body awareness can bring you into the present moment and help you feel grounded and connected. As you continue to practice mindfulness and solitude, you may begin to notice changes in your daily life. You might find that you are more patient, more calm, and more able to handle stress. You may begin to feel more connected to yourself and more aware of your own needs and emotions. Mindfulness and solitude is not about isolating yourself from the world. It's about creating a space where you can connect with yourself on a deeper level, where you can observe and understand your own mind and emotions, and where you can cultivate a sense of inner peace. This practice, though simple, can have a profound impact on your life. In solitude, you can truly see yourself. You can observe your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns without the distractions of the outside world. This self-awareness is the key to personal growth. As you become more mindful of your own mind and body, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You learn to trust yourself, to listen to your inner wisdom, and to live more authentically. Buddhism teaches that enlightenment is found within. It's not something we achieve by doing more or being more, but by turning inward, by becoming fully present in the moment, and by cultivating mindfulness. Solitude is the perfect space for this practice. It's where we can quiet the noise of the world and tune into the wisdom within. In the end, mindfulness and solitude is not about escaping from life. It's about fully engaging with it. When we learn to be mindful in solitude, we bring that same awareness into our daily lives. We become more present with the people around us, more attuned to our own needs, and more connected to the world as a whole. So, as you move forward, I encourage you to embrace moments of solitude. Use them as opportunities to practice mindfulness, to observe your thoughts and emotions, to connect with your body, and to simply be. In these moments, you will find not only peace, but a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Embracing inner strength in isolation. Imagine yourself sitting quietly in a room, no phone, no TV, no people around. For many, this can feel uncomfortable, even scary. But why? What makes being alone so unsettling for so many of us? The truth is, we often look outside of ourselves for comfort, validation, and meaning. We think that being surrounded by others, by noise, by activity, makes us feel more alive, more connected. But in reality, it is in those quiet moments of isolation where our true inner strength can be discovered. Let me tell you a simple story. In the heart of a dense forest lived a monk, far from the busy world. Every morning, he would wake up to the sound of the wind through the trees and the soft rustling of leaves. There was no one around him, no city noise, no friends to talk to. But in this solitude, the monk found something most of us spend our whole lives searching for: peace. He discovered that by being alone, he could hear his own thoughts, feel his emotions deeply, and understand himself on a level that is impossible in the midst of noise. We often think that inner strength is about being tough, about standing up in front of others, or about fighting through challenges in life. But true strength comes from knowing yourself, from facing your fears and insecurities head-on. When you are alone, with no distractions, you are forced to confront those parts of yourself that you often push aside. And while it can be hard, this is where real growth happens. In Buddhism, isolation is not seen as something to be feared, but rather embraced as a part of life's journey. The Buddha himself spent years in deep meditation, in complete isolation, to reach enlightenment. He understood that by stepping away from the distractions of the world, he could better understand the nature of suffering, the impermanence of life, and the path to freedom. This isolation was not a punishment. It was an opportunity for profound insight. So, how can you embrace inner strength in your own isolation? It's simple. Start by changing your perspective on what it means to be alone. Instead of seeing it as something negative, look at it as an opportunity. When you are alone, you have the space to truly listen to your inner voice, to explore your thoughts, and to understand your emotions. You don't need to distract yourself with endless activities or conversations. Instead, allow yourself to be present with your thoughts, even if they are uncomfortable at first. Think of it like this. When you are in the middle of a crowded room, it's hard to hear the soft sound of a bird outside the window. But when the room is empty and there is silence, suddenly that sound becomes clear. Your mind works in the same way. When you are constantly surrounded by people, noise, and activity, it's hard to hear your own thoughts. But when you are alone, those thoughts become clear, and you can begin to understand what is really going on inside. One powerful practice to embrace inner strength in isolation is mindfulness. When you sit in silence, pay attention to your breath, to the sensations in your body, and to the thoughts that come and go. Don't judge them or try to change them. Just observe. This simple act of being present with yourself can build incredible inner strength because it teaches you that you are okay, just as you are. You don't need distractions to feel complete. You are enough. Another important lesson from Buddhism is the idea of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing, including our emotions and thoughts. When you are alone, you may feel a sense of discomfort at first. But remember, this feeling is temporary. It will pass. By sitting with it, by allowing yourself to experience it fully, you build resilience. You learn that you can handle whatever emotions come your way. This is inner strength. In solitude, you also have the chance to reconnect with your purpose, to ask yourself the big questions. What do I really want in life? What brings me joy? What do I need to let go of to find peace? These are questions that are often drowned out by the busyness of everyday life. But in the stillness of isolation, they come to the surface, and you can begin to find the answers. It's important to note that embracing inner strength in isolation doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world forever. It's about finding a balance. Solitude gives you the space to recharge, to reflect, and to grow. When you return to the world, you do so with a clearer mind and a stronger sense of self. You are not relying on others to define your worth or to distract you from your inner world. Instead, you carry the peace and strength you found within yourself, wherever you go. Think of isolation as a training ground for life. Just as athletes need time to train, to build their muscles and their stamina, you need time to train your mind and your heart. Solitude gives you that time. It allows you to build the inner strength you need to face the challenges of life with calm and clarity. Remember, being alone does not mean being lonely. In fact, some of the most profound connections you will ever make are the ones you make with yourself. When you embrace isolation, you give yourself the gift of self-awareness, self-compassion, and inner strength. You learn that you are your own best companion, and that, no matter what life throws at you, you have the strength to handle it. So, the next time you find yourself alone, don't rush to fill the silence. Sit with it, embrace it, use that time to build your inner strength, to connect with your true self, and to find the peace that comes from within. Detachment and freedom, Buddhist insights on letting go. Let me tell you something, my friend. Most of the suffering in our lives comes from holding on too tightly. We cling to things, to people, to ideas, and we believe that without them, we'll be lost, broken, or incomplete. But what if I told you that true freedom comes when you learn to let go? You see, in Buddhism, detachment is a key concept. It doesn't mean you don't care or that you push everything away. It means that you're not tied to things in a way that causes suffering. Imagine you're holding a rope, and on the other end of that rope is something you desperately want. Maybe success, love, approval, or even material things. The harder you pull, the tighter the rope gets, and the more painful it becomes. That's what attachment does. It's like pulling on a rope that's burning your hands. The more you hold on, the more it hurts. Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever, And that's okay. In fact, it's natural. People change, situations change, and even we change as time goes on. When we accept this truth, we begin to let go of the need to control everything and everyone around us. And that, my friend, is the beginning of real freedom. Think about it. How often do we get caught up in worrying about things that haven't even happened yet? We cling to the idea of a future that might never come, or we hold on to past memories, hoping they'll return. But the truth is, all we really have is the present moment. And in this present moment, we have the power to let go. Detachment isn't about pushing away everything that matters to you. It's about understanding that your happiness doesn't depend on those things. When you realize that you can be at peace, no matter what's happening around you, that's when you start to experience true freedom. It's like a heavy weight lifting off your shoulders. One of the most beautiful lessons in Buddhism is that suffering comes from attachment. Whether it's attachment to material things, relationships, or even our own thoughts and beliefs, the tighter we hold on, the more we suffer. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The harder you try to grip it, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you relax and open your hands, the water stays. This is how life works. When we stop trying to control everything and everyone around us, we find peace in just being. Detachment is not cold or emotionless. It's not about cutting yourself off from love or joy. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Detachment allows you to experience life more fully because you're no longer afraid of losing what you have. You can love without fear, work without anxiety, and enjoy the moment without constantly worrying about what's coming next. Take relationships, for example. Many people believe that love means clinging to someone, needing them, and making them the center of their world. But that's not love, that's attachment. True love is about allowing the other person to be who they are, without trying to control or possess them. It's about being fully present with them, enjoying the time you have together, and understanding that you can still be whole even if they're not around. Detachment also applies to material things. We often think that owning more stuff will make us happier. A bigger house, a new car, the latest gadgets. We chase these things, thinking they'll fill the emptiness inside. But once we get them, we realize they don't bring lasting happiness. That's because external things can't give us the inner peace we're looking for. When we let go of the need to accumulate more, we find that we already have enough. We stop worrying about what we don't have and start appreciating what we do. In Buddhism, there's a saying, let go or be dragged. It's a simple but powerful reminder that holding on too tightly will only pull us deeper into suffering. The more we cling, the more we feel trapped. But when we let go, we free ourselves from the chains that bind us. Now, I know what you're thinking, letting go sounds simple, but it's not easy. And you're right, it's not something that happens overnight. It's a practice, something you work on a little bit every day. Start small. The next time you find yourself getting upset because something didn't go your way, take a deep breath and remind yourself that it's okay. You don't have to control everything. Let it be. The world won't fall apart if things don't go exactly as you planned. Detachment is also about letting go of the stories we tell ourselves. How often do we replay the same thoughts in our minds, convincing ourselves that we're not good enough, that we'll never succeed, or that we need someone else's approval to be happy? These thoughts are just that, thoughts. They're not reality. When we stop attaching ourselves to these negative beliefs, we create space for new, healthier thoughts to take root. Buddhism encourages us to practice mindfulness, to be fully present in each moment without judgment. When we do this, we see that much of our suffering comes from resisting what is. We want things to be different, we want people to behave a certain way, and we want life to follow our script. But life doesn't work that way. When we learn to accept things as they are, without trying to force them into our own expectations, we find peace. So, how do we start practicing detachment? One of the simplest ways is through meditation. When you meditate, you learn to observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. You watch them come and go, like clouds passing in the sky. You realize that you don't have to hold on to every thought or emotion that comes your way. You can simply let them pass, and in doing so, you find freedom. In the end, detachment is about trust. It's about trusting that life will unfold as it's meant to, without you needing to control every aspect of it. It's about trusting that you are enough, just as you are, without needing to prove yourself or seek validation from others. And it's about trusting that, no matter what happens, you can find peace within yourself. So, my friend, the next time you find yourself holding on too tightly, remember this. Freedom comes not from grasping, but from letting go. Alone, not lonely, cultivating compassion for self and others. In the stillness of solitude, there is a profound opportunity to discover a truth about ourselves and the world. Solitude, dear seeker, is not loneliness but a path to understanding. In the quiet, where distractions fade, we find the space to explore our inner landscape. Imagine yourself in a serene garden, far from the hustle of daily life. You are alone, surrounded by the gentle hum of nature. This is not a place of isolation, but a sanctuary where you can connect deeply with your own heart. It is here that the practice of compassion begins. To understand this, let us turn to a simple yet profound teaching. The Buddha spoke of loving kindness as a central part of his path. Loving kindness starts with ourselves. When we are alone, we have the chance to cultivate this compassion inwardly. It is in these moments that we learn to be gentle with ourselves, to embrace our imperfections, and to nurture our well-being. Compassion for oneself is the foundation upon which we build compassion for others. When we are alone, we confront our own fears, insecurities, and struggles. By facing these with kindness and understanding, we learn to offer the same compassion to those around us. We become more attuned to the suffering of others, more willing to extend a hand, and more capable of offering solace. Consider this. When you are alone, do you judge yourself harshly? Do you hold yourself to unattainable standards? In these moments, practice speaking to yourself as you would to a dear friend. Offer words of encouragement, understanding, and patience. As you do, you will notice a shift. The inner critic softens, and in its place, a voice of gentle support emerges. This practice of self-compassion is not merely an exercise, but a deep transformation. It reshapes our relationship with ourselves and, in turn, our relationship with others. When we are kind to ourselves, we become more authentic, more empathetic, and more connected. Our solitude becomes a source of strength, not a sign of isolation. The Buddha taught that through understanding and compassion, we can transcend suffering. Solitude offers us the chance to see clearly and to act with kindness. When we are alone, we are not just in a state of being away from others. We are in a state of being with ourselves, learning to love and care for ourselves in a way that ripples out into the world. In this space of solitude, take time to reflect on your actions and thoughts. Are they driven by compassion or by judgment? Are you acting out of love or out of fear? The answers you find can guide you toward a more compassionate life. Remember, the goal of solitude is not to escape the world, but to understand it better. By cultivating compassion within ourselves, we prepare to engage with the world in a more meaningful way. Our solitude becomes a bridge, connecting us to the deeper truths of our existence and to the shared humanity of all beings. So, embrace your moments of solitude. See them not as empty spaces, but as opportunities to deepen your understanding and compassion. In these quiet moments, you are not alone. You are, in fact, connecting more deeply with yourself, and, through that connection, with others. Through this practice, we learn that being alone does not mean being isolated. It means being in touch with the essence of who we are, and in that touch, we find the capacity to love and care for ourselves and others more fully. Wisdom and stillness, the role of meditation. In the tranquil embrace of solitude, where the noise of the world fades away, we encounter a sacred space, one where we can connect deeply with ourselves. In this stillness, we find a profound teacher, meditation. Imagine a calm lake, its surface perfectly smooth and undisturbed. When the lake is still, it reflects the sky above with crystal clarity. But when it is disturbed, the reflection becomes a blur. This is similar to our minds. When we are caught up in the hustle and bustle, our thoughts churn like waves on a stormy sea. But when we practice meditation, we calm those waves, allowing our true nature to reflect with clarity. Meditation is not a complex practice reserved for monks or sages. It is a simple yet powerful tool available to everyone. In its essence, meditation is about finding a quiet moment to sit, breathe, and observe. It is about being present with whatever arises without judgment or distraction. The Buddha taught that through meditation, we can gain insight into the nature of our minds and our true selves. It is said that the mind, when left unchecked, is like a wild horse, galloping in every direction. Through meditation, we harness that wild energy, guiding it towards inner peace and understanding. This practice is like training the horse, gently steering it until it moves with grace and purpose. When we meditate, we sit in silence, focusing on our breath or a simple mantra. We let go of our thoughts, allowing them to drift by like clouds in the sky. This practice helps us see our thoughts for what they are, transient and fleeting. We begin to understand that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer, the still presence behind the waves. As we deepen our meditation practice, we uncover layers of our consciousness. We see our fears, our desires, and our true essence. This self-awareness is transformative. We start to understand that our inner peace does not depend on external circumstances, but on our ability to remain centered amidst the chaos. Meditation also teaches us about impermanence. In each moment, thoughts and feelings arise and fade away. By observing this process, we learn to let go of attachments and embrace the flow of life. Just as the waves rise and fall, so too do our experiences come and go. Meditation helps us accept this natural rhythm, finding tranquility in the midst of change. In Buddhism, meditation is not merely a practice but a way of life. It is a continuous journey of returning to our center, no matter how many times we are drawn away. Each time we sit in meditation, we are reminded of our inherent peace and wisdom. We become more aware of the present moment, more attuned to the subtleties of our inner world. When we meditate, we also cultivate compassion. As we become more aware of our own struggles and aspirations, we develop a deeper empathy for others. We recognize that we all share the same human experience, with its joys and sorrows. This understanding fosters a genuine connection with those around us, enhancing our relationships and our ability to respond with kindness. Meditation, therefore, is not just about personal peace, but about nurturing a compassionate heart. It helps us engage with the world from a place of calm and clarity, rather than reactivity. We approach challenges with a steady mind and an open heart, ready to respond with wisdom rather than impulsiveness. In the stillness of meditation, we also find creative inspiration. The quieting of the mind allows space for new ideas to emerge. Often, the most profound insights and solutions arise when we step away from the constant noise and give ourselves permission to be still. So, embrace the simplicity of meditation. Allow yourself moments of quiet, and in those moments, discover the depths of your being. Just as the calm lake reflects the sky with perfect clarity, so too will your mind reflect your true nature when it is still and centered. In meditation, we find that being alone is not a state of isolation but a gateway to profound self-discovery and wisdom. Through this practice, we unlock the power of solitude, transforming it into a source of strength, clarity, and compassion. The spiritual growth that comes from solitude. In the stillness of solitude, there is a profound opportunity for spiritual growth. Imagine a tranquil pond, untouched by the ripples of disturbance. This is the essence of solitude, a space where the mind can settle, revealing the clear depths within. Here, in this calm, we can connect with a part of ourselves that is often overshadowed by the noise of daily life. When you find yourself alone, it is as if the world has paused. The hustle and bustle fade into the background, leaving you with your own thoughts, feelings, and reflections. In this quiet, you might encounter a profound sense of clarity. The distractions that normally cloud your mind are gone, making way for a deeper understanding of who you are and what you truly seek. Buddhism teaches us that true spiritual growth comes from within. It's not something that can be given to us by others or found in external achievements. Instead, it arises from our own inner journey. When we are alone, we have the chance to explore this inner landscape without interference. We can listen to our inner voice, confront our fears, and embrace our true selves. In these moments of solitude, we often encounter our deepest fears and insecurities. This can be uncomfortable, but it is an essential part of spiritual growth. By facing these aspects of ourselves, we begin to understand our true nature more deeply. We learn to see our fears not as obstacles, but as teachers guiding us toward greater wisdom and self-awareness. The Buddha spoke of meditation as a way to transcend the ordinary mind and touch a deeper level of consciousness. Meditation often begins with moments of silence and solitude. In these moments, we can observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. We begin to see that these thoughts are not who we are, but rather passing phenomena. This understanding helps us cultivate a sense of inner peace and detachment from the turmoil of daily life. Solitude also offers us the space to reflect on our actions and their consequences. When we are alone, we can consider our choices and their impact on ourselves and others. This reflection can lead to a greater sense of responsibility and a deeper commitment to living in alignment with our values. Consider a tree standing alone on a hillside. Its roots grow deep into the earth, drawing nourishment and strength from the soil. Similarly, when we embrace solitude, we root ourselves in our own inner strength. We become less dependent on external validation and more connected to our own inner resources. In solitude, we can also cultivate gratitude. Without the constant demands of others, we have the opportunity to appreciate the simple joys of life. This sense of gratitude can transform our outlook, helping us to see the beauty in everyday moments and fostering a deeper sense of contentment. The Buddha often withdrew from society to meditate in solitude. These periods of retreat allowed him to gain profound insights into the nature of existence. Similarly, our own periods of solitude can provide us with valuable insights into our own lives and the world around us. They allow us to connect with a sense of purpose and meaning that might be obscured by the busyness of life. Embracing solitude does not mean rejecting the world or isolating ourselves from others. Instead, it means recognizing the importance of taking time for ourselves and acknowledging that spiritual growth requires moments of quiet reflection. By balancing our interactions with periods of solitude, we can cultivate a deeper sense of inner peace and fulfillment. As we learn to value and seek out solitude, we also begin to appreciate the moments of connection with others more fully. The balance between solitude and companionship enriches our relationships and enhances our understanding of ourselves and those around us. In the end, solitude is not a state of being alone, but a state of being with ourselves. It is in this space that we can truly grow, learn, and connect with our deeper selves. By embracing solitude, we open ourselves to a journey of spiritual discovery and personal transformation, overcoming fear and anxiety of being alone. In the quiet space of solitude, fear often emerges. It is as if the silence holds a mirror, reflecting our deepest insecurities and anxieties. Yet, within this stillness lies the opportunity to understand and transform these fears. Fear of being alone is not merely a fear of isolation. It is a fear of confronting our true selves. When the distractions of the world are removed, we are left with our thoughts and feelings, and this can be unsettling. The mind starts to churn with worries, doubts, and old patterns of thinking. We may ask ourselves, what if I can't handle this? What if I am not enough? But understand this, fear is a natural part of the human experience. It is a signal guiding us toward growth. The Buddha taught that fear arises from attachment and ignorance. We cling to the familiar because it feels safe, even if it brings us discomfort. When we are alone, we are free from these distractions, and we face the raw truth of our own minds. To overcome fear and anxiety in solitude, begin by acknowledging them. Do not shy away from these emotions or try to suppress them. Instead, embrace them with a gentle and compassionate heart. Sit quietly and observe your thoughts. Notice how they come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. They are not permanent. They are simply fleeting visitors. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness is a powerful tool to help us manage fear. When we are mindful, we bring our full attention to the present moment. We observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing them to exist without being overwhelmed by them. This practice teaches us that we are not our thoughts. We are the observer of them. Another key aspect is to cultivate self-compassion. Often, we are our harshest critics. When alone, we might replay past mistakes or criticize ourselves for perceived shortcomings. Instead, practice kindness towards yourself. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend who is struggling. Recognize that everyone has fears and makes mistakes. This is part of the human journey. Buddhism also teaches us about the nature of impermanence. Everything, including our fears and anxieties, is constantly changing. When we accept that nothing is permanent, we begin to see that our fears are temporary and can be transformed. They are not fixed aspects of who we are. They are transient experiences that we can move through and understand. Meditation is another practice that helps us deal with fear and anxiety. In meditation, we focus our attention and learn to let go of the mental noise that often amplifies our fears. Through regular practice, we build inner strength and resilience. We discover that, in the stillness, there is a profound peace that exists beyond our worries. Solitude also provides a space for introspection. In this quiet, we can ask ourselves important questions. What is it that I am truly afraid of? What do these fears tell me about my needs and desires? By exploring these questions, we gain insight into the root causes of our anxieties. We can then address them more effectively. Remember, being alone does not mean being abandoned. It means you have the opportunity to reconnect with your true self. In this reconnection, you find a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on external validation or the presence of others. As you face your fears in solitude, you will discover that you are stronger and more resilient than you might have realized. Each moment of fear is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to deepen your understanding of yourself. In the end, solitude is not to be feared. It is a sanctuary where you can confront your fears and emerge with greater wisdom and compassion. Embrace the quiet and let it guide you to a place of inner strength and peace. The balance between solitude and community in Buddhism. In the quiet stillness of the forest, a lone tree stands tall and strong. It sways gently in the breeze, its roots deep in the earth. This tree knows the balance of solitude and connection. Just as this tree needs the soil and sky to thrive, so do we. In Buddhism, solitude is revered for its power to reveal our true nature. It is in the quiet moments alone that we can touch the essence of our being. Yet, this solitude is not an end but a means, a way to understand ourselves better so we can connect more deeply with others. This is the balance we seek. Consider the lotus flower. It grows from the mud, reaching towards the sunlight. It does not cling to the mud but rises above it, finding its place in the light. Similarly, our moments of solitude help us rise above our daily concerns and find clarity. But just as the lotus needs the water to grow, we too need the company of others. The Buddha, in his teachings, spoke of the middle way. This path is not one of extremes but of balance. Solitude and community are not separate paths but two sides of the same coin. True wisdom comes from understanding that both are essential to our journey. When we are alone, we have the space to reflect, to meditate, and to understand our thoughts and emotions. This solitude is like the calm water in a pond, clear and still. In this state, we can see our own reflections and gain insights into our true selves. However, this clarity does not exist in isolation. It is meant to be shared, to be brought into the world. Community provides the context in which we apply the insights gained from solitude. When we engage with others, we test our understanding and apply our wisdom. In interactions, we see how our actions and words impact those around us. It is through community that we learn compassion, patience, and the art of living harmoniously. Imagine a Zen garden. The rocks and sand are carefully placed, each element adding to the beauty of the whole. Solitude in this context is like the careful arrangement of the rocks. Each piece is important, but it is the arrangement that creates harmony. The community is like the overall design. Each person plays a role in the greater picture. In our lives, finding this balance means knowing when to retreat into solitude to nourish our inner self, and when to step into the community to share and grow. Too much solitude can lead to detachment, while too much community can lead to distraction. The art is in knowing when to step back and when to engage. Solitude and community are intertwined, much like the yin and yang. Each needs the other to create a complete experience. Solitude enriches our personal journey, while community grounds us in the reality of shared existence. Together, they form a harmonious balance that leads to a fuller understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. The practice of mindfulness helps us maintain this balance. Through mindful awareness, we become more attuned to our needs and the needs of those around us. We learn to recognize when we need solitude to recharge and when we need to connect with others to grow. In Buddhism, the Sangha, or community of practitioners, plays a crucial role. It provides support, guidance, and a mirror to our practice. The Sangha helps us see ourselves more clearly and encourages us on our path. It is through this supportive community that we can test and refine our understanding of the teachings. Balancing solitude and community is a dance. It requires us to listen deeply, to ourselves and to others. It asks us to be present in the moment, whether we are alone or with others. It invites us to embrace both aspects of our existence with openness and grace. In conclusion, the balance between solitude and community is a dynamic and ongoing process. It is not about finding a perfect state, but about continually adjusting to the needs of our inner and outer worlds. By nurturing both aspects, we cultivate a life that is rich in insight, connection, and harmony. Conclusion: the journey to inner peace and fulfillment. In the quiet, where the mind finds stillness, we touch the essence of our being. The journey to inner peace and fulfillment is not a path to be walked with haste, but a journey to be savored in the silence of our own presence. Imagine you are sitting by a serene pond, the water still and clear. As you gaze into it, the reflection of your true self begins to emerge. Being alone is not about isolation, but about embracing the space where you meet your own soul. In the embrace of solitude, you find a place untouched by the chaos of the world. Here, you discover that true peace lies not in external validations, but in the harmony within. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom: to look inward, to find the quiet strength that lies beneath the surface of daily distractions. As you journey through life, you may encounter moments when solitude seems daunting. The noise of the world can be overwhelming, and the prospect of facing yourself alone may seem challenging. Yet, it is in these moments that you find the opportunity to grow. The Zen teachings remind us that every moment of solitude is a chance to return to our true nature, to reconnect with our inner peace. Reflect on the teachings of the Buddha, who sought enlightenment through solitary meditation. His journey was marked by moments of profound silence, where he learned to understand the nature of suffering, the impermanence of life, and the path to liberation. His wisdom tells us that solitude is a powerful tool for self-discovery and spiritual growth. In solitude, you are not alone. You are accompanied by your thoughts, your dreams, and your aspirations. It is a space where you can cultivate a deep sense of self-awareness and compassion. When you are alone, you have the opportunity to listen to the quiet voice within, to understand your true desires, and to align your actions with your deepest values. Being alone allows you to embrace your own company and find joy in your presence. It teaches you to appreciate the simple moments of stillness and to find contentment in the here and now. In this state of peace, you begin to see that fulfillment comes not from external achievements, but from the inner harmony you cultivate. The journey to inner peace is ongoing, a continual process of returning to the self, of finding balance amidst the noise of life. Every moment of solitude is a step towards greater understanding, a chance to reconnect with the essence of who you are. Embrace these moments as precious gifts, opportunities for growth and reflection. As you continue on this path, remember that the true power of being alone lies in your ability to transform solitude into a space of peace and fulfillment. It is a sacred journey, one that leads you closer to the heart of your being and to the wisdom that resides within. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the power of being alone. If you have found this journey meaningful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support allows us to continue sharing these insights and to help others find their own path to inner peace. In the stillness of solitude, may you find clarity and fulfillment. May your journey be filled with moments of quiet reflection and profound understanding. Embrace the solitude, for it is in these quiet moments that you come to know yourself most deeply.